Hey guys, it's Matt here, and today I'm doing another episode of Matt Rants. So, I'm going to try to make this Matt Rants a little bit shorter because we should have a few coming out, not just today, but even more coming out this week. We have a huge Matt Rants backlog, so I will be putting out more than one per day if I can. So, also would like to mention that I am recording near a window, so if you hear any cars passing by, not much I can do. Welcome to New York, everybody. So, today I'm talking about GameStop and their troubles and their woes. And I know what some of you guys are thinking. You're thinking, wow, a video about GameStop on YouTube being talked about by a 18 to 35-year-old male. Surely this is brand new content. Truly, Matt, you are a titan of industry, and I am. I'm trying to bring a lot of different types of content to the channel, things that some of you guys may have never seen or heard from before, and I think we're going to start right here today. Now, all jokes aside, I actually do have a personal story that I'll bring up a little bit later about my dealings with GameStop recently and how fun those were. Haha. But today we're actually talking about a decrease in GameStop stock. Now, normally I don't like to talk about GameStop, or not in GameStop in general, but just general stock stuff, because I feel like that's stuff that the stock market is very fickle, and it's basically it's something that I know some of us, we try to delve a little bit more into. It's not just about gaming, just any type of market for things that we like. So we try to look at the stock market and see how that relates to a new product that comes out and things like that. But really, even just bad word of mouth, despite the fact that a company could be doing just fine, could end up ruining a company's stock. Heck, Nintendo stock actually went up a lot when Pokemon Go came out, even though Nintendo had nothing to do with Pokemon Go. So it's something that normally I don't like to talk about, but today we are going to ask the question, is GameStop in trouble? And I think we've asked this question before, which again just really shows our originality here. But the reason why I wanted to take a look at this, not just because I've had some problems recently and can potentially talk about why I think GameStop is also in trouble, but also just because the writing's there, the writing's on the wall. It's something that people have been talking about for a while now. And yes, some people are just riding it. I will admit, just constantly whenever GameStop sneezes, it happened again. But there's other cases where, well-documented cases. We've talked about buying retro games at GameStop and how that might not be a good option. If you want to buy retro games, maybe just go to your local retro game shop. We've also talked about GameStop being open on Thanksgiving, which clearly, looking at the dip in revenue, I don't think being open on Thanksgiving worked. Maybe don't freaking do that. I'm not saying GameStop should have done it if there would have been good returns, but at the very least, that's the point. You're thinking, a GameStop executive is thinking, well, we're going to be open on Thanksgiving, despite the fact that we used to say that we were doing it for the families. You're still going to be open on Thanksgiving, hopefully to get in some more revenue. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like that was the case. Now, we do have two different links here, one from Gamasutra and another one from Bloomberg. And it seems both articles are very interesting because Bloomberg is very much gloom and doom, talking about how GameStop is not meeting their projections and how they are facing extreme losses, especially due to digital downloads. And I hear them on that. Digital downloads are definitely something that is definitely taking people away from just even going outside, just looking at the sun. Sometimes I look out this window and I think, right, there's a world out there. And then I go and I play Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu on my Switch. So, that happens from time to time. So I totally get where Bloomberg is coming from there. But looking at Gamasutra, I feel like it paints a little bit of a different picture, and here's why. So the title of the article, GameStop reports $488.6 million loss despite strong software sales. Bloomberg was talking about how there was a decline in used game sales, which I just want to point out for a second there. With GameStop, how about if there's a problem with used game sales, maybe what you do is you don't have a street cleaner outside my house. But the second thing you do is you actually lower the price on digital sales. Used sales. I know that that's their bread and butter. Some of you guys might not know. I would imagine you know by now, but let's say you don't. Used sales for GameStop, they get 100% of those profits when looking at something like a brand new game. However, that is split between the publisher. So let's say, picking out a random game, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, if they are selling that game for $60, $60, let's say. They're not getting all that $60. I don't know how much they're getting, but it definitely isn't 60. However, if they're putting it used for 55, GameStop gets that entire $55. So maybe bring it down to 45. I don't know. I mean, GameStop does a lot of different sales and a lot of different ways to try to get people into their stores or at least buying their products. Maybe, just maybe, you actually try to get people to buy your used products more than your new products. I know you got to sell some of those new units, get pre-orders, things like that. I understand where that's coming from. You want those numbers to look good as well. But at the end of the day, if you're buying something used, even if it's a few months after, I'm not going to pay $55, only $5 off for a used game. That's insanity. You want those numbers to go up? Decrease the price. I mean, I don't think that's revolutionary. That's kind of how business works. But, I don't know. If you want numbers to increase, you decrease the price. Even if you're making less, it still looks good on paper. Now, I do want to mention specifically what they reported as a loss in total, because yes, I talked about the title of the article, the Game & Sutra article, but I still want to talk about what it was last quarter. So, this quarter, they reported $488.6 million of a net loss, or $4.78 per diluted share, and that's compared to net income of $59.4 million, or 0.59 cents per diluted share in the prior year quarter. However, they're also saying that total global sales increased 4.8% to $2.1 billion. Which is very interesting. And also, new hardware sales increased 12.8%, driven largely by Xbox One X and Sony PS4 sales. Wondering if this is not taking Nintendo Switch into account, because my story is actually a Nintendo Switch one. Again, I'll bring it up a little bit later. So I'm wondering if they're not taking that into account, if that'll actually change anything. However, what's interesting is, apparently last quarter, GameStop had said, hey, Nintendo Switch sales is actually helping us out very well as well. So they talked about the Switch helping them out last quarter, but I do think that this quarter the Switch might help them out a little bit more, interestingly enough, but again, not too sure about that. However, some of their customer service stuff, lacking. But again, get to that a little bit later. Also, software sales were talked about as well. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. They increased 10.9%, thanks in part to strong sales of Red Dead Redemption 2 and Marvel's Spider-Man. I would say that's kind of a duh, because, yeah, both sold very well, so I imagine that would somehow work in GameStop's favor. And also, the company reported accessory sales, which, cool. I mean, obviously, Switch has a lot of different accessories, things like that. Increased 32.6% on the strength of, headset and controller sales. Again, I assume the Switch has something to do with that. While pre-owned sales declined 13.4%. Again, maybe decrease the price. How about you do that? Another thing that they should do is they shouldn't take a used game or even a new game, because I've heard some people talk about this with quote-unquote new games as well. They shouldn't just take a box off of the shelf, one that every single person in that, walking into that store could have put their grubby mitts on to look at the back of it. Take that and go, here is your game, sir. Or madam, here's your game, person. No. If you're taking that off the shelf that everybody touched, then cars shouldn't go by my window. And also, if you're taking those games off the shelf, they should not be $55. You should give me somewhat of a reasonable markdown from that. But again, I know it's not new information, but it's something that I think maybe if you say it over and over and over again, it'll get through someone's head. And especially because it seems like the company isn't doing so well, maybe someone working there will go, that is a good idea. That's a very good idea. Thank you, Matt. I'm one of your 5 listeners. Now, something that I find funny, and I find this really funny, is again, looking at this article, we have a GameStop financial officer, Rob Lloyd. He said that the company lowered its projected forecast because it now anticipates a weaker fourth quarter, despite sharing better than expected third quarter results. The reason why that makes me laugh a little bit is, I'm not saying that you can't do that. I totally get it. Like, you're gonna, okay, maybe let's expect a little bit less. But it seems like me walking into a movie going, I'm going to expect shit from this. This will be a terrible film. And then walking out and going, it was adequate. Yay. It wasn't a great movie. It was just adequate because I lowered my standards. Anyway, but actual real talk though, Lloyd did mention that while our Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales were strong, we anticipate that our fourth quarter sales will skew more towards hardware than initially planned, which, along with underperformance of certain titles, weakness in pre-owned, and recent sales promotions, will result in fourth quarter earnings that are below our previous expectations. So, Yeah, now's my time for my Black Friday story. Actually, technically, it was a Cyber Monday story. So here's what ended up happening. GameStop, they did a boo-boo. They did a big oopsie daisy. They let me buy a Switch for $300, brand new. At least I hope it was brand new. An employee didn't take it home first beforehand, but it was a brand new Switch. And they gave me a $50 GameStop gift card alongside it. So right there, you're thinking, but Matt, that sounds like a great deal. And it was. But man, is that a bad deal for GameStop, I would imagine. I don't know how much money GameStop makes off of their Switches, but first of all, it shows that things might not be going well. And again, that's not always the case, right? Some, companies want to expand and get new business, but looking at news like this and news that we've heard over the past few months and the past few years, really, with how many stores, GameStop stores are closing around the U.S., you kind of sit back and you're like, you're giving me a great deal. And I took advantage of it, of course. But at the same time, my thought was, I feel like things aren't going too well. And also, when I use that code, which I did, I was going to use the GameStop code on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That's a whole nother story I'll talk about in a different video that'll be coming out before the end of the month, before the end of the year. Still, it was a problem because I thought, I don't trust, by the way, branding. I don't trust GameStop, my first thought was. I'm going to go get Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on Amazon. I won't use my $50 code to get it off of GameStop because I don't trust them. And I ended up getting Super Mario Odyssey with the travel guide, which was $60, which then became $15, which was actually pretty cool. But I ended up getting that a little bit later because you can't use it in the same cart. So what I did get, I actually got Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu with the Pokeball. So overall, that ended up being $450. I believe the shipping was free, which was nice, but it was a no rush shipping, which, yeah, 7 to 14 days. Okay, fine, no rush. But here's the thing, though. So apparently, and this is what other people had said online, and then this is me putting my own personal spin on it because it happened to me as well. Apparently, GameStop didn't expect people to take advantage of this. Again, you give someone a deal like this, getting a Switch, some would say for $250, but really you could just put that $50 elsewhere. Still, getting a Switch for that cheap, when even on, I've been looking for a Switch for months on eBay, maybe seeing like, will one go for like $200 maybe? No, people for some reason, even though it's not Amazon, they end up bidding Switches not only up to $300, but sometimes over it. I'm like, what are you doing? This isn't what are you doing? Why not just get it off of a different platform? Why are you bidding them over $300 on eBay? Not special edition Switches, just normal Switches, no games, mass confusion from me. So, but the point though is that looking at GameStop, they didn't expect people to take advantage of this, and somehow, and I'll even admit I shouldn't have been able to take advantage of this. Even though it was post Cyber Monday, it was pre-6, it wasn't 6 a.m., it was like 3 a.m. into Tuesday. So it technically was Tuesday. So I end up calling up a contributor for the channels, Tristan Walter, and I say, Tristan, get the Switch now. But here's the kicker. So we both get the deal. Remember, this was on Cyber Monday, 26th of November, technically 27th. I didn't get a shipping confirmation on that for days. Like, it wasn't even like an email saying, like, we're working on it. Might have been like the first few minutes. Like, okay, yeah, we're working on it. Don't worry about it. Don't be an idiot. And so I was like, whoa, that's rude. That's a corporate email. No, I'm kidding. But still, I got like some type of email like that. And then all of a sudden, I ended up getting an email. Oh, it must have been the 1st. That was like, hey, it's shipping. And I had to sit there thinking, okay. But here's the kicker, though, for me at least. With Tristan, he had just gotten the Switch, didn't get a game for it, was going to get one later. I got it, like I mentioned earlier, with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. They didn't send that one out with the Switch. They showed a confirmation, hey, the Switch is shipping, and they did not talk to me about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu or Eevee. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu at all. So I was sitting around like, I wonder what's going to happen with this. And finally, it finally arrived, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure this was the 14th that it had arrived. Again, remember, I ordered this on the 26th. But again, you're thinking, but Matt, what happened to the Switch? That's the important part of the story. While that Pokemon Let's Go thing sounds like typical GameStop, what happened with the Nintendo Switch? Well, the Nintendo Switch came in on the day that Smash was supposed to be out, which I'll talk about that Amazon story in a different video. But when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, so I ordered this the 26th, 27th. It comes out Friday, the 7th of December, to my house. And I'm sitting here with no Smash. Granted, again, I didn't order it through GameStop, to be fair. But with no Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu either, thinking, so here it is. Here is my wonderful Switch. Thank you, GameStop. Also, by the way, the digital code was quote-unquote shipped to me within days, which was also weird. It was like, can you not just approve that in like an hour? Like, it took a few days for a digital code to even get to me, which really is kind of... The moral of the story here is GameStop, while trying to do a good thing and actually get people into their stores or get people to buy more things from them, somehow managed to take so long that people may have actually sat back and went, do I really care? I'm just going to cancel my order. Or perhaps people did enjoy it, but then like me, and look, I'm not saying that the code should be limited necessarily, because I know that it's anti-consumer, but still, it didn't get me in the store. I bought the Super Mario Travel Pack thing online, which, by the way, they also kind of jerked me around with the shipping for that. Thankfully, it has come in, and it's playing great. I'm going to do a review on it early next year, or sometime next year. But still, how crazy is it? Again, a company, and look, I know that competing with Amazon, it's really hard, especially with that. Well, thankfully, it's a bit easier now because Amazon has been kind of screwing the pooch with some recent game stuff, shipping them out on time and things like that. And some people have talked about that online. But still, competing with Amazon with free 2-day shipping, I get it. It's rough. But the thing, though, is you expect GameStop's employees to be treated better, and then you hear stories of them not being treated better. So you sit back and you're like, wait, so the employees aren't being treated well, and your shipping sucks, and you're sitting here giving us deals that you didn't anticipate. Like, what did you think? People are going to be like, whatever. It's a normal $300 Switch and a $50 gift card. Whatever. Mostly any game becomes a $15 game. Any purchase minus $50. That's a really damn good deal. And yet, for some reason, GameStop, it just went right over their heads. Either way, I share that personal story just to try to explain to you guys why, in case maybe you haven't shopped at GameStop in years or shopped from GameStop in years, it just goes to show you how there are issues. And even when I did a video about getting an SNES Classic from GameStop, and I said, yeah, honestly, it seemed like at the time the best way to get it. And I still might even say that, depending on how much it is on Amazon. I think they got restocked. So look, I'll admit they have as last time I checked, the NES and the SNES Classic in stock. So yes, GameStop could be the best way to get that. But even during that order, I'm pretty sure I mentioned in that video, I couldn't order through the website for some reason, so I had to order it through the app. Thankfully, this time I was able to order it through the website just fine. But still, it's 2018, we're going into 2019. GameStop, what are you doing? What are you doing? They gave me 2 free digital codes. I think I can apply both. I hope I can. To one of their pop figures or collectibles, whatever. They call them collectibles, but I'm going to put them towards a pop figure to get for a friend of the channel, to get a contributor of the channel, a Christmas gift. So I want to get him a Christmas gift. And I want to potentially get that pop. But guess what? The shipping is so expensive on just the pop alone. I'm sitting back going, wait. Then if I end up even if I put both digital codes on, which are like $2 each off, I'm still paying more than if I went into the store. Okay, then let me go into the store. But no, the codes only work on digital purchases. GameStop, what you doing? Like, what's going on here? Why... Even for something that you're trying to push now, these pops, there still are issues. So either way, I'm going to wrap this one up. I think this was a short one. We'll find out in editing. Either way, thank you all so much. Love you all. Hopefully you tune in next time for another episode of Matt Rants. But before you click out, don't click out of the video just yet. I want to hear your GameStop stories. Your good ones, your bad ones, your generally mediocre ones. Maybe you also brought your projections of GameStop down and now you're like, you know what, it's average at best. Tell me your experiences working there, everything you want to talk about GameStop related, please. I would love to hear hear about it in the comment section down below. Maybe your experiences were better than mine. Maybe you also had an issue during the Cyber Monday, Black Friday sales. So, would love to hear it down below. Thank you all so much. Love you all. Take care and tune in next time for another episode of Matt Rants. Alright guys, so see ya.